Chris O'Connor here? Yeah, it was in the middle of the winter, in the middle of the term. Okay, well, you have a role to play there. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. If you please honor our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Begin by reading the special meeting notice. Notice is hereby given as required by Rule 6 of the City of Lowell City Council rules that the City Council will hold a special meeting of the Lowell City Council jointly with the Lowell School Committee in the Council Chambers on Monday, November 5th, 2012 at 6 p.m. for the purpose of interviewing and the selection of a candidate to a position on the Greater Lowell Technical High School and School Committee. As I put into a memo to you all, we have 4 candidates, Mr. Ray Booton, Mr. Clifford Krieger, Mr. David LaFeria, and Mr. Fru Nakimbang. Each will have 5 minutes to give an opening statement. They have 1 minute to give a closing statement and approximately 30 minutes in total for questions from the committee members. We'll begin with in alphabetical order. We'll begin with Mr. Ray Booton. After a roll call.
Counselor Kennedy.
Here.
Counselor Leahy.
Here.
Counsel Laurie.
Here.
Counsel Martin.
Here.
Counsel Madonza.
Here.
Counsel Mercia.
Here.
Mayor Murphy.
Here.
Counsel Nguyen.
Here.
Counsel Elliott.
Here.
Mr. Conway.
Here.
Mr. Gignac.
Here.
Mr. Leary.
Here.
Miss Martin.
Here.
Miss Sikowicz.
Here.
Miss Scott.
Here.
15 present, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Booton.
Good evening.
Excuse me. If you can just come sit down, be a little easier. Is your
Get the green light on?
mic on? Just touch it.
There you go.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the mayor, city councilors, school committee members, my family, and unexpectedly my friends tonight for being here. I appreciate the time. My name is Ray Booton, and I'd like to have your vote to fill a vacant seat at the Greater Lowell Technical High School. I'm seeking a seat on the Greater Lowell Technical High School Committee so I can help to continue the positive academic direction at the school while also looking at both long-term and short-term changes for the 23 technical programs offered. The school recently added engineering and technology, and that's a great step forward. This was a result of collaboration with local businesses, the Workforce Investment Board, the Career Center, Middlesex Community College, and UMass Lowell. The school needs to keep their partnership with those organizations, but also take a look at the jobs report, which will also forecast out which jobs will be in high demand now and in 10 years from now. The other reason I'm seeking a seat on the committee is that I would be the only member on the board with a child at the school. Some of the opportunities at the school going forward, additional programs that they could offer are biotechnology, criminal justice, or forensic science, and my favorite, or what I think is most important, is MIS and networking. Now I'd like to discuss some of my skills and background so that I could be an effective contributor to the committee and the school. I've lived in Lowell for the past 20 years, and I've been active in the community. During that time, from 1999 to 2008, I served on the Community Development Block Grant Fund Citizens Advisory Committee. 4 of those years, I was the chairperson. The board consisted of 6 to 9 members. We had a budget of roughly $3.5 million with over $10 million in requests from roughly 100 nonprofit organizations. It was tough work, but very rewarding. I also served on Lowell's Citywide Parent Council, their executive board, for 4 years. We met monthly during the school year with the superintendent of schools and also planned and implemented monthly informational meetings for the parents. From 2002 to the present, I have been involved with the Pawtuckaville Youth Organization. For the past 4 years, I've been president, and as of last Thursday, I was voted in for a 5th term as president. We have an 11-member executive board. We have over 120 managers and coaches. We have over 800 parents, grandparents, and guardians, but most importantly, 440 boys and girls that are involved each year from April through October. I was a volunteer member from 2008 till the present on the Community Service Advisory Committee at the Technical High School. From 2010 to 2012, I was also a member of their school council. School council is similar to Lowell School Site Council. You have monthly meetings, and you help to direct the school with their short-term and long-term goals. You also contributed to the student handbook, any changes that would be forwarded to the school committee. The boards I have sat on were all volunteer positions. I hope you can see by my past work on these committees that I am the type of person who rolls up his sleeves to do the tough work required. These groups were not successful just because of me. It was due to the wonderful volunteers I was able to work with and learn from. Being a member of these boards and committees has given me the experience to collaborate, communicate, and work with others to achieve a common goal. From a professional standpoint, I own a real estate appraisal company here in the city of Lowell. I'm a certified general appraiser. I appraise both commercial and residential properties. I also have my real estate broker's license, so if anybody wants to move to Pawtuckaville, come see me. These careers have given me the experience to read blueprints and architectural plans. This will give me a better understanding if we have any expansion or renovation at the school. As an appraiser, I need to gather as much information as possible before I give my opinion. It's what I'm trained to do. I'm married, and my wife Nancy is here tonight, along with my children. But Nancy is on the executive board at the Pawtuckaville Youth Organization with me. And sometimes during the e-board meetings, and then sometimes during the general meetings where we have 40 or 50 people, her and I don't always agree. I know it's hard to believe that a husband and wife wouldn't always agree. But we vote. When the majority votes, we move forward in that direction. That's how it is. Sometimes the drive home can be a little bit quiet, but she's still here tonight supporting me, and I'm grateful to have her. I have 4 children. My daughter Candace, she's a sophomore at UMass Lowell. My son, Cameron, is a senior at the Innovation Academy Charter School in Tingsboro. My other daughter, his twin, Cassandra, who's here tonight, is a senior at Lowell High School. And as I mentioned, my son, Carter, he's a freshman at the technical high school. And everybody's probably thinking, the guy likes C's. They're all spelled with K's. What would I like to most do as a committee member? There's 2 things that need to be done at the school. The first thing is to focus on the increase in morale. The Donahue Institute, which is part of UMass, has been hired to complete an evaluation of teacher and staff morale. The group has already met to begun their work in delving into the TELS report, which showed areas of low morale for teachers and administrators. The next phase will include interviews with all workers at the school. Once the action items are identified and solutions presented, the school needs to implement those. It's a must. Everybody from the 3 different sides that are up there. Make no mistake, I know there's 3 sides. There's the pro, there's the con, and then there's a big group in the middle that I've talked to that are tired of all the things going on up there. I have the experience to bring them all together, and I'm hoping to be able to do that. The last part of the things that I'd like to do with the school is collaboration. They've done a great job working with Middlesex Community College. Matter of fact, they just got a program through that any child at the school that completes 136 hours of co-op will now get a 3-credit course at the school as a business elective. Recently, UMass Lowell announced the Manning School of Business. That's great news for us, too. We need to get the hospitality program in sync with the UMass Lowell so that we can get those kids into their restaurant program and management program. Most importantly, and I'm saving the best for last, is we need to collaborate more with Lowell High School. As I've talked to many of the school committee members here and some of the city councilors, it's an important thing that we need to bridge that gap between the 2. It shouldn't be us against them, it should be we. And I want to do that. I want to offer courses to the students at Lowell High School because there is a waiting list right now. Get those students after-school programs over to us and implement some after-school technical programs there. There's children at the technical high school that I learned while I was on the school council that want AP courses, and we can't give them AP courses there. Why can't we send them to Lowell High School to get some of those AP courses? Why can't we share our resources? I've done it before in the different organizations I've been a part of, and I think we can do it forward. I brought up the topic of a split shift at the school when I was in Drake 30 years ago, almost 30, wow. When I was in Drake, you had two sessions. You started one at 7:30 and it went to 2. Then you had another one that went from 9 to 3:30. You have this fixed cost with the school. We can use it more if we extend the school day there. Now, I know you have union issues that you have to talk to, but unless you start talking about these new ideas, things aren't going to get done. How many teachers out there want to get up for 6 o'clock every morning? I know I'm not a morning person. So they may want to come in at 9 o'clock. Maybe it would be a benefit for the teachers, and maybe they'd want to do it. Maybe there wouldn't be a big cost to all this. But if you don't look at it, we're never going to know, and we have kids that need these programs. Thank you very much. I'll take questions.
Okay, before we do, I think it'd be good, just out of fairness to Mr. Booton and whoever follows, that if any candidates who haven't been interviewed yet, maybe wait in the reception room so that they can answer the same questions. And thank you. At this point, I'd open it up for anyone wishing to ask a question of Mr. Booton.
Just quickly.
Mr. Leary.
Just a question to you, Mr. Booton. I guess in terms of you discussed the TELS report and the morale at the Greater Lowell Technical School, what action steps do you envision you would take if you were a member of the technical school committee going forward to try to improve those scores in the TELS report?
I'm going to listen to the Donahue Institute. I mean, they're professionals. They do this all the time. But there's just regular things that you can do. Acknowledging teachers, giving them more control. I know when I was on citywide parent council, one of the issues that came up is if a principal suspends or gives too many detentions to a student, that's not a good thing. And the principals looked in a negative way because they didn't have control of the school. Maybe those kids do need to be suspended detentions. Maybe their hands are being tied. I think giving them more autonomy to do what they think is right. I've talked with my son about his teachers. I've talked to my friends' kids about their teachers. And those teachers are trying hard out there. Those teachers care. They didn't get into this for the money. They got into it because they want to help kids. I want to give them the resources to do that. So better communication with them, acknowledging them when they do something good. Sometimes, and all of you know here, you can make the right decision, but it's very unpopular. You need to keep that. You need to keep their integrity and their control at the schools. As far as the TELS report, I know one of the factors that's been told to me by teachers and administrators is the fact that they had ongoing contract negotiations at the time. Personally, as a real estate appraiser, I had a mortgage officer tell me that there was a teacher that couldn't get a loan because they had no contract in place. Nobody likes not having control over their destiny. You have a good job, and then you can't get a loan because there's no contract in place. They had to go to a different investor. They ended up getting the person a loan. So not knowing where you stand, not feeling appreciated is one of them. The other item that not many people may know is this year they've implemented using tablets and iPads. That's different for teachers. Instead of teachers presenting the information to the children, they're now going to be facilitators. They're now learning how to use the iPads and the tablets to facilitate instead of just presenting the information. So I think knowing that that's coming, a different way of teaching, would make anybody anxious because you don't know what you don't know. I hope I answered your question.
Mr. Martin. Councilor Martin.
Thank you. Mr. Booton, there's been some discussion, there's a Sun editorial on this point, and I guess others in the community have talked about independence and that this next appointee needs to be independent from other, I guess, members of the school committee or the administration. Could you speak to that issue and how you view your own, how you would present yourself as an independent voice?
Okay.
Or whether you would.
Sure. I've always been independent, sometimes a little bit too independent. I don't follow the path of least resistance, and most of my baseball and softball friends here can attest to that, even my family members. I have to do what's the right thing. I have to go home with myself at night. I'm not going to take sides. If there's two sides up there, this side pro, this side con against something, my focus will be in the middle to what's important is the children. I've done that in my baseball league. I've taken the opposing side, as crazy as it sounds. We use pitching machines for our younger ages, the 6, 7, 8-year-old division. Some of the more seasoned members of my league were really against it. So I talked to Cal Ripken, and I called 2 other groups. One was Ohio, and I think one was in Kansas, and asked them, how did they implement this? How is it working for them? And they told me that they place first or second every year in the districts and in their states. So I went beyond, and I went against the grain. It was very unpopular. People were upset with me, but it was the right thing to do for the kids. I went home and slept well at night. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not in this for any other reason than to help the kids in the school. And if you look at my background, the different times that I've worked with the youth, Citywide Parent Council, Pawtuckaville Youth Organization, Lowell Girls Softball, Lowell Boys Senior Baseball, my focus is on the kids. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions for Mr. Booton? Seeing none, you'll have 1 minute for a closing statement.
Thank you. My time on the Community Service Advisory Committee and the school council at the technical high school, as well as my profession as an appraiser, the connections I have to parents, and the experience working as a volunteer on the committees gives me a unique perspective and will help me to be an asset to the school. I have committed my time and energies to the school already. I am invested in the school and my community. I have been and will be with the other parents at sporting events, academic events, and social events, and hear what the parents are concerned about. I can bring a fresh perspective to the school board. I believe my experiences as an appraiser, as well as being a volunteer on committees outside and inside the school, will allow me to be a positive for the school and the children at the school. As you can see by my experience as a volunteer, I take pride in working hard and having the integrity to do the right thing. I respectfully ask for your vote tonight. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Booton, for being willing to serve. At this point, then, we call, no, you can stay. You've already. At this point, we'll call Mr. Cliff Krieger.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Lowell City Council and the School Committee, my name is Cliff Krieger. I was born in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and I graduated from high school in Long Beach, California. I then joined the Air Force, where I flew and did staff jobs. My last assignment, I was teaching military strategy and operations at the National War College for 3.5 years. I then came up here to work for Dynamics Research Corporation, doing training and readiness analysis, and then as a supervisor of up to 66 people spread from Florida to Kansas. I'm now retired, but I'm an intermittent worker, which means that if they have some project for me, they can call me back for 20 hours a week. I live on the east side of Lowell. One of my activities is as a volunteer with our city's program to end homelessness in 10 years. We just had our 7th successful conference at the Inn and Conference Center here a week ago. You asked, why do I seek the seat at Greater Lowell Technical High School? I've lived here for 18 years, the longest I've lived anywhere in my life. I expect to live here for another 10 or 15 years or 20 years if I live as long as my father. So the question is, what kind of city will we have over that future time period? And I think the future graduates of Greater Lowell Technical will play a big role in our city's future. Massachusetts has a net loss of native-born people, so this is made up for by immigrants, which includes people like myself. I can see graduates of Lowell High going off to college, getting married, moving to Boston or beyond. I see the graduate of Greater Lowell being the people who are more likely to stay here in Lowell and the local area. They're the ones who will be making up the employed and active members of the community 10 or 15 years from now, the ones who will become business leaders and provide local jobs. Therefore, their education is critical to our future here in Lowell, and I want to be part of ensuring their success. As far as my background, I think the best skill I would bring to this position is that I work to bring different views together. For example, I had 3 years in the Pentagon on the Joint Staff, and one of my jobs was to chair a committee, small committee of the 4 services, reviewing and approving strategic documents. My job was to resolve differences amongst the services before the document went up to the Joint Chiefs of Staff for approval. As you can imagine, each of the services brought their own views and considerations. I think I did a pretty good job in building agreement and bringing those different views together. My teaching experience is limited. I was an instructor pilot for about 6 months in Thailand, and that's my technical instruction experience. I taught military strategy and operations as opposed to tactics at the National War College for 3.5 years, including being a core course director for 2 years. I'm thus familiar with the nuts and bolts of putting together a course, and I have empathy for teachers. And you might say teaching adults is a different thing from teaching teenagers, but it's not an easy thing because you're dealing with 40-year-olds who have accomplished a lot in their life, and they feel pretty good about themselves. And their self-confidence and their suspicion of academics, even academics who are fellow operators, is pretty high. What would I most like to work on as a committee member? Well, I think the number one issue for potential trouble is the $65 million renovation project. It needs to be closely monitored. Projects frequently experience cost overruns. Extra expenses will come back to us to pay. I have some experience in that area. While I was in the Air Force, I spent some time in research and development, procurement, contracting, and I was responsible for negotiating and following up on contracts. Personally, I'd like to delve into the area of continuing education and how Greater Lowell can help our community in that area. I'm a believer in lifelong learning and its value to the well-being of our citizens. I would also like to work on the issues of coordination between Greater Lowell Technical and Lowell High School on the issue of vocational education. Greater Lowell cannot take every student who wishes to attend and develop technical skills. Thus, Lowell High finds itself in the position of having to make up the difference. And I think that the two schools should work together to help. And finally, an issue that interests me is teacher morale, since morale determines if the faculty has a high retention rate. And I think a high retention rate is to be desired at Greater Lowell Technical High School. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leary?
Mr. Krieger, hitting upon your last point of teacher morale, in the most recent TELS report that was just recently, not recently, but a little while ago released, what would your specific action steps be in helping to achieve a better morale within the Greater Lowell Technical High School?
Well, I think that the first thing it would be for me to talk to my fellow committee members and see what they already have underway. The TELS report sort of bothered me because it's a 4-option survey as opposed to a 5-option survey. So we don't know what's sitting there in the middle. If they use a Likert scale, 5 items, we'd better understand what's happening. But once you move beyond that, I think that the issues on teacher morale may well turn around the issue of including teachers in the decision-making process, asking them for their inputs and making a better use of their inputs, helping them to feel they're part of the process.
Thank you. Councilor Martin?
Thank you. Mr. Krieger, recent Lowell Sun editorial and perhaps some other folks have said it's important that this selection be made somebody who's independent and without ties to any particular, I guess, faction or group inside the high school. Do you have any comments on how you would be an independent voice or representative in response to that, I guess, requirement or?
I came up here without family, although I've had 2 of my children come up here. One son worked down in Boston, lived with us for a while, and I have a daughter finishing up her PhD thesis. But I don't have anybody who's a relative or a close friend who's on the faculty out there. So in a way, that works against me because I've not been getting the feedback from the school. But I don't think I am part of any faction or group at this point. I'm interested in getting the appointment, going in and finding out what's going on.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I meant to ask this of the prior speaker. What are your plans for the seat once this term expires?
I think that that I actually have sort of a responsibility to run for the seat again, because to just go in and be a seat warmer, I think would diminish my effectiveness as a member of the committee.
Any more questions for Mr. Krieger? Thank you, Mr. Krieger, for being willing to serve.
Thank you.
If we could have Mr. David LaFeria. Councilor Leahy.
Did Mr. Krieger want a minute to
Oh,
close,
excuse me.
finish up?
Yep.
Sorry. Everyone's gonna get 1 minute to finish up. If you wanna sit down and again, if you're done, you're done.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Krieger. Thank you, Councilor.
I bet you're wondering why I'm here. Well, it just happened, this is the second time this has happened to me in an election. And I just don't know what to say. Members of the school committee, Mr. Leahy, you're one of them, you jumped up and stepped. City councilors do that. We don't do it at the school. It's a problem. Not with me, but it's a problem. The reason I came down tonight is because I have a lot of unfinished work up there. I've been on that board for 12 years. I had a lot of input into the school. Some of the things that were offered happened the night after your campaign party, Connie. I was doing a job at the Pines house. You people know Pat Pine, Bud Pine. And he had just come back, and he said to me, Pat said to me, you want to stay here for a cup of coffee? My uncle, my brother, whatever his name is, forget now, is coming up. So I said, okay. Henry Powell's his name. So she introduced me. She says, David just got elected to the school board. And he says to me, how would you like an industrial technology department at the school? I'll pay for it. I said, where did you come from? Gave me his telephone number, gave me a card. I gave it to the superintendent. Didn't go anyplace. At a conference down in Framingham, Worcester, Central, fellow there from Bill Gates, man and Bill Gates. I'm sitting out front, listening to him. I like to listen to the keynote speakers, and I said, he said he come from Vermont. I said, whereabouts? He told me. I said, you know Walter Roberts? He said, yes, he's my pastor. Walter was a priest here in Lowell. I was in a seminary with him. I said, can I talk to you after? He said, yep. He gave me a card. A man in Bill Gates Foundation called me up. I gave it to the superintendent, nothing. Third thing that happened, on top of the Alternative Energy and Mass Renewable Trust. I've been playing around with alternative energy in Mass Renewable Trusting since I was a kid. You people remember the gas company downtown when they had the heating in the ground? Radiant heat. I put it in as a little kid, my father. We took it out also. Talked to one of my neighbors one day, Jackie Leonard, and I said, Jack, I want to go up to the school and see the windmills up there. So DJD and I were co-chair of this committee. And we went up there and we talked to Dr. Ziad Salome. Now, the principals up at that school was Ron Bennell, Jackie Leonard, Ziad Salome, and about 4 other guys I played with as a kid in Centerville. And we went through that building, up in the roof. We saw the turbines. And they had 3 of them up there. And I questioned them how the panels were put in there, and what was going on. And I said to him, how come we can't get some geothermal stuff up at that school and probably some alternative energy up there and whatever. So DJ and I started going on an adventure. We went around a bunch of schools. And we went to a place in Billerica. They made solar voltaic panels. We went in there, and I'm watching how these things, they make them with a seed. And they have a chain that goes up overhead, and they had 2 of them things at once, they were about 40 foot. And they cooked them. And the seed was not but a piece of hexagon metal, and it was heated, and it had, the sand was cooked to it, and that's how they started. They brought it gradually, and it made them panels. So I got talking to the guy about the panels and how much and the cost of them and what have you. So then we went down to one of the vocational schools. We started looking around there, find out what they did, what we could do at our school. Then we hit a lot of different places in the industry. Then I called for a meeting. I was chairman of that committee. I called for a meeting to go up to the University of Lowell and talk to these people. One of them was about the industrial technology. The other one was with Jackie Leonard and Dr. Ziad Salome and that stuff. And we couldn't get anything out of Mass Renewable Trust. It didn't make any sense to them. So we had a meeting at the school. Then I talked to Steve Pan and Giataka. I said, Steve, can we get down to the State House and have a meeting? Well, all the big shots showed up when Steve was there. I mean, they come out of the woodworks. The problem with that Mass Renewable Trust and what happened to us out at that school is this. We didn't manufacture anything. If we had a fossil fuel plant, we need a chimney, they'll fix it. If you had a water wheel, they'll fix it. If you had an incinerator, they'll pay for it. Usually have a condenser tied in with one of them. When they burn a coal, they usually have a condenser that generates, the thing generates steam, and they'll bring it right back and recycle that stuff. You find that in a lot of asbestos plants or whatever. Well, all that stuff went by. We never got anything because it wasn't their idea. What a shame. What a waste of talent, and what a waste of money. As far as myself in the plumbing business and heating, I don't know if you people saw my list of license. It's almost embarrassing. I started as a little kid working with my father over on Lakeview Avenue. I'm on Lupine Road, right outside where the Kerouacs live. You know, Jimmy Monahan. You know, I played together. He went with his father chopping the stones, and I went with my father putting plumbing in. We moved from there, moved to East Merrimack Street. My father got drafted in Centerville, went in the Navy as a chief petty officer in the Seabees in 1943. Got out of the service. We moved to East Merrimack Street. It was zoned for business at 354. He put up an office in the front room, and I started going back to work with him. He fell down a Dutch tea room from the top floor and broke his back. laid in St. John's Hospital for 2 years in health and welfare. Through the unit was 6 months, and then he had a brace on his back. And he was only a journeyman plumber. He worked for Hobson and Lowell in Lowell. And as a young kid, I worked with all the old plumbers. We were one of the oldest firms around. My father contacted the State Board of Examiners of Plumbers in the Department of Education. And he wanted to go to night school, and they didn't have a night school in Lowell. My father said, well, I can't go because I got a broken back. Well, the only place they taught that course was Harvard University. It was a business course. And he couldn't go in there. So they wrote him back, and he had a buddy over here at the vocational school, Walter Markham. Walter was the principal over there. And my father said to him, he says, Walter, he says, we got to get a school going. So he contacted the Department of Education. They told my father, you know, get a group and you can teach it. My father said, I don't want to teach it. I want to get the hours in to get my master's. At that time, you could not work as a journeyman plumber. You had a master plumber's license. Same thing happened to me when I was a journeyman. I could not work. I had a master plumber's license to take out a permit. Well, he went to night school. I went with him sometimes. Sometimes I got on the union hall with him. I'd watch him fight down there. Somebody didn't like the way things were going. I'd go out in the back and battle up and go over to Plaza and have a cup of coffee or soda or whatever. Nevertheless, as I got older, I went to St. Michael's, then Immaculate Conception, and I left high school in my sophomore year, went in the Obleys. Get out of there, come back to work with my dad. A few months and went in the Navy. When I was in the Navy, I was a boiler repairman. First class, I served aboard 3 aircraft carriers. And my job in the Navy was to move that ship. I was a senior petty officer in there. Transferred from there when the Coral Sea was being decommissioned to put the Canada deck on. And then I wound up on the USS Tarawa. From there, I had the same job I did. I went to school in Philadelphia, Naval Boiler Intelligence Laboratories. Get out of there. Wound up in sick bay, get out of sick bay, back to the Coral Sea, get transferred to the Lady. Oh, I was giving re-enlistment speeches down in Quonset Point. I got transferred to the Lady. When I got out of the Navy, prior to getting discharged, I had put in for nuclear power school. And I took all my pre-exams for being a chief petty officer. I couldn't be a chief, so I had time to get out of the Navy. So what I did is I went to work with the Tech-Weld Corporation. I became a certified welder down there. UL, did metal manufacturing, worked in cryogenic stuff, worked in the space shop. I worked for Arthur D. Little Company. I worked for that Western laboratory they had. I did cryogenic work with Lindy Corporation, and we did all the liquid nitrogen refrigeration units. And you people remember Cycol Engineering, how that O-ring killed that girl? Well, Roger Bosley was a friend of mine. He lived in
Mr. Laveria, I hate to interrupt, but it was just supposed to be a 5-minute opening. So if you could wrap up the introduction and then we can get to the questions.
So anyway,
Thank you.
after that, I got into teaching school. And that's how the superintendent's going to start. It was an idea my father had. They're going to shut down the Haverhill Vocational School. And I told him they're going to shut it down. He said, no, they're not, and back and around. And he's the guy that's kept that Haverhill Vocational School on. So my father was really instrumental in vocational education. And nobody was going to shut down the school as far as my father was concerned. And then he says to me, get into teaching, which I did. And I wound up going to Fitchburg State, and I got 2 teaching certifications at one time. And that's what I did. Any questions?
Mr. Leary.
Oops, sorry. Mr. LaFerrier, if you're placed on the Greater Tech School Committee, what action steps would you specifically attempt to address teacher morale within the building and to ensure positive morale?
You know, as an employee, and I worked myself after I got away from the shop, sometimes you get people who are disgruntled, they're jealous, and it's got to do with somebody ahead of them that might have got a job or a promotion or a raise, and they don't like them. Usually when you have when you'll see an election coming tomorrow, and of course they're gonna put a whole new administration in, who's ever there. And that happens in the vocational school. The superintendent selects the people to work with. And if you get a teacher that disagree with it, or they ask them to do something, they don't want to do it, now you wind up in executive session, and I hate it. I like the public to see what's going on. But all you can do is the best you can up there. You know, no matter what you do, what you say, you guys negotiated with them before. You know what we're talking about.
Thank you. Councilor Martin.
Thank you. Mr. LaFerrier, you view yourself as being able to be an independent voice as a member of the school committee?
What do you think I am now?
Well, it's been some discussion about that in
No,
the paper, so.
Yeah, because my problem is when you're with administration and you become a chair of the board like I was, you have knowledge of what that superintendent is doing 24/7. And some people think that they should know that. Well, I don't think I should have known that where she was every day. That wasn't my job. But she would let me know if she was going to be out of town or whatever. And she would ask me my opinion on whether she should bring something to the board or not. And I would give it to her, and that was the end. I don't get on email. I don't get on the website. I talk to people. I could call her right now and talk to her. I have no problem at all. And this is part of the problem. When they were picketing, and I walked by there, it was, oh, you no good, this and that. I wasn't picketing. If they had signed that contract when I had given them, when I selected the committee for negotiations, they could have had that contract signed within one day. There were other stuff involved with it, and they didn't, they got the team away they had and put another one in. There's a problem right there. And this is where all this animosity and stuff comes from up there. It's like, he did this, we did that, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. That's a place to teach children. I think we're missing a whole boat up there. It's got nothing to do with me. This is for kids. I was a kid. I went through the same thing. I know exactly what these kids are going through up at that school. I've seen kids, I had them in class when I was teaching up there, and I didn't understand why they were cutting up all the time. Finally, I said to one, two of them, I want to see you at Gormley's. So one showed up and the other didn't. And I said, what are you doing to me in that school, in that classroom? And he told me. Then the next, when I get back that day, the other one come over and says, hey, Mr. L, can I go back tomorrow? I said, sure you can. So we come back. And he says, Joe says you're a good guy. I said, I'm here to teach you guys something. You don't understand the opportunity you have. I didn't have it. We didn't have a school like that when I was a kid. We had the trades at the vocational school. They didn't teach plumbing days. And this was a golden opportunity. With a license in Massachusetts, you can go any place in this country and get a job. We have a uniform code. And within that code, I was on the board of directors for plumbing, heating, and cooling contractors. And a part of that, it was on the McLean Waddell scholarship thing for kids to go to high school, to get a college degree and what have you. We funded that thing. I was on the board of directors for 35 years. I belonged to the Society of Sanitary Engineers, New England Plumbing Inspectors. On and on and on. And it just...
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Elliott. Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have one question. Mr. LaFerre, you mentioned in your remarks that your tenure on the board was 12 years, I think, and that, and then you also mentioned in your remarks that there were 3 instances where you brought ideas forth to the superintendent at that time, and that nothing happened on each of those ideas or proposals or leads or whatever you want to call them. Your 12 years would have spanned, I think, at least 2 superintendents, maybe 3?
2.
2, okay. So those ideas that you brought forward, were those for different superintendents?
No. Well, they're basically on one,
Okay.
the first one. What had happened with this thing was,
I'm not so interested in going into the whole history of them. It was just curiosity more than anything else. But those are prior superintendents up there? When you brought those proposals
one
forward?
of them was, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. LaFerrier? If you'd like, you'll have then a minute closing statement, please.
That's it. It's like the Gettysburg Address, 5 minutes and gone. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for being willing to serve. Lastly, we'll call up Fru Nakembeng. And you'll have a 5-minute opening statement, and then we'll open it up to questions.
Mr. Mayor, dear councilors and school committee members, my family out there, friends and supporters, my name is Fru Nkimbeng. In 1985, a young Fru Nkimbeng, a product of a trade school and a general education in Cameroon, came to Lowell to seek advanced education. I was welcomed in Lowell as a son. I settled here and attended the University of Lowell and graduated with a degree in economics. I then went to Revere College and did my master's in computer information systems. I learned that education is the key to a better life for the individual and the society to give back to the community. I have been blessed with a wonderful family. My wife, a product of UMass Lowell and Mass School of Law, and 4 beautiful children. My daughter graduated with honors from Lowell High, went to UMass Amherst, graduated with honors, went to Boston University, graduated with a master's in public health, and is working now with Johns Hopkins in Maryland. And I have 3 boys who are in the public school system in Lowell. While pursuing my degrees, I had the opportunity to meet and educate students in the greater Lowell about world history, and in particular about Africa. During my community involvement and meeting with many students, I took the time to recognize the huge potentials our students have and the limited understanding of multi-ethnic and multicultural experience they possess. I also became increasingly aware of my individual strength to do something to motivate and educate not only students but the general public about living locally but thinking globally. With my educational background in economics and computer information systems, strong community involvement, and having 4 children in the Lowell public schools, I am compelled to seek a seat on the Greater Lowell Technical High School to be a different voice that has never been heard before and a source of inspiration to the youths of all backgrounds that can work hard, earn a better education, and give back to this beautiful city. I will deliver confidence, passion, motivation, and inspiration to all students to reach their full potentials. Discussing my skills and background. I have a bachelor's degree in science from UMass Lowell and a master's of science in computer information system from Revere College. I earned a certificate in nonprofit management and leadership at Boston University School of Management. I served as the first president of the Cameroonians of Lowell Association and facilitated the creation of a sister city relationship between Lowell and Bamenda in Cameroon, West Africa, thereby creating transatlantic relation between the city. I served as the president of the Lowell African Cultural Association and coordinated the Lowell African Festival, bringing a taste of festival to the people of Lowell for 7 years. I became a volunteer police instructor and member of the Lowell Police Department's race relation and sensitized Lowell police and on immigrant attitudes, behavior, and perception, and helped build trust, collaboration between the police and the immigrant community. For over 10 years, I have hosted the African Hour on public access television featuring discussing important issues including economic, security, education, politics, and conducted exclusive one-on-one interview with former mayors and current mayor, superintendent of public schools, city manager, and Senator Eileen Donahue on many community leaders. I joined the Lowell Police Delegation to represent Lowell at the Eastern Regional Police Summit in Washington, D.C., and Western Regional Summit in Sacramento in 2000 and 2004, respectively. I served on the board of Lowell Telecommunication, Lowell General Hospital Patient Advisory Board, the Lowell Community Health Center African Advisory Board, the Governor's African Council Advisory Board also. With my education and background, strong community involvement, and having 4 children in the Lowell Public School, I will deliver confidence, passion, and motivate and inspire all students to reach their full potentials. What would I most like to work on the committee? Given my background in economics and computer information systems, I would be interested in joining the Program Advisory Committee to assist and support school personnel in order to improve planning, operation, and evaluation of the 23 technical programs available with program area with adequate and timely information as to, 1, work on job development, demands, and job trends, technological development and training alternatives, and 3, other factors affecting the quality of the program. The Greater Lowell Community Technical High School is doing a wonderful job preparing not only students with skills but job creators of today to meet the challenges of tomorrow. The Community Service Learning Program does just that, and I will fight to improve on that. I like the concept of the 5 A's of community service learning, which are authentic learning. The project addresses a real-world issue and is connected to the community. Active exploration. The project engages you in inquiry and hands-on application on learning, adult connection. The project links students to community mentors and experts. Applied learning. The project can transfer what you have learned in your technical and academic areas to the service project and vice versa, and advocacy. The project promotes the voice, and that leads to change. I will consult with committee members to evaluate all the programs and eliminate inefficiency, waste, duplication, and redundancy. I will pay more attention to investment that would improve learning conditions to all students and provide teachers with the best tools to teach. My own development plans for Greater Lowell. Education should be about student learning rather than teachers teaching. That means the students' learning should be the central part of the policy, and the strategies to promote the learning experience should be designed around the student. I would champion the educational system that encourages the committee members, staff, and students to live locally but think globally. The Sister City Relationship program that the mayor's office can offer a type of distance education with students in sister cities worldwide. Lowell High has a similar program with Cape Verde in Africa. I will work with community members, administration, staff, and students to conduct a survey of the Greater Lowell Technical High School shortcomings and what the school does best. We will use the results of the survey to work on moral building through collaboration and better serve and provide the students with the best career-focused education. We need to pay attention to changes in the labor market and redefine career-focused education in response to emerging trends. I will use my community outreach skills to the various immigrant communities of the Greater Lowell Technical High School. I would like to see Greater Lowell Technical High School students take general classes at Lowell High, and the Lowell High School students experience hands-on practical training at Greater Lowell Community High School before graduation. Build and maintain strong collaboration between the Lowell High School and Greater Lowell Community Technical School. I will see administration maintain a database to track students' success in the labor force after graduation and use the data to reform school curriculum. Maintain a strong relationship with graduates, some of whom would become employers of tomorrow. Encourage students to live locally and bring local needs to the lab to create technology to meet the needs with a global market needs. Encourage creativity, creative thinking, leadership skills with an entrepreneurial mindset. I would like to see a grassroots, community self-reliant type of education where students will engage in the community and bring that experience to the lab and use the experience to build technology to address today's needs and the economic challenges of tomorrow. I would like to see more collaboration between UMass Lowell, Middlesex Community College, and the Sandbox Institute of UMass Lowell, which is an incubator of new ideas and creativity. I would like to strengthen and expand partnership and collaboration for partnership programs with local companies and employers. I come to this position with an open mind to serve the Greater Lowell Technical High School with the passion for success of all the students as my main commitment. I will evaluate the facts and approach any situation with a fair chance and open mind and make my decision based on the facts and in consultation with other committee members. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leary?
Good evening. Your last page of your development plan, your third bullet point articulates doing a survey to work on morale. what specific action steps would you use to develop and ensure positive morale within the Greater Lowell Technical High School? And if you can give an example of anything in your work experience or life experience where you've addressed a similar situation in a positive way.
Well, that's a wonderful question. Thank you very much for that. And I would like to say that to be able to address the morale or to the problem that exists, I need to do a detailed study to see where there are drawbacks. And first of all, I will encourage communication amongst the various departments, the administration, and the committee members, as well as the students. Because when once there is breach of communication, there is a problem. And when once we conduct the general study and find where there are deficiencies, I will consult with members of the committee, and we brainstorm ideas, having in mind that the students' education is the ultimate goal, and to provide a comfortable environment convenient for learning, as well as the teachers and those who work around Greater Lowell to be challenged and feel proud to serve honorably.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councilor Martin.
Thank you. I've asked the other candidates. You view yourself as an independent voice representing, I guess, both the citizens of Lowell and the students, not tied to a particular point of view that may exist at the school now, whether in the school committee or in administration.
Well, I would say that when I read the mayor's minutes, it was my gut instinct. First of all, I consulted myself, and I talked to my wife and my kids. They say this is an opportunity that the city is calling me to serve, and the city that has treated me like its son and given me a lot. I jumped on the opportunity. So I considered, first of all, a service to the city. And I come here with an open mind, no attachment to any communities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Mr. Nickerman? At this point, then, you have a 1-minute closing statement, if you wish.
Growing up in Africa, my parents told me that you have to dream. Education is the key to success. I dreamt of going far, but I never knew that I would sit in front of you and be talking about that education that was inspired me when I was with my parents. Lowell accepted me like his son, and I took Lowell like my home. I did everything. First of all, improve myself in education, and I did that. And I learned a lot. And during my journey, I have talked to so many wonderful people in Lowell. Mayors, teachers, counselors, preachers, and everybody. And all of them have taught me a lot. And that you cannot succeed alone. You have to build bridges. I seek this position because I want to give back to Lowell, and because I want to meet a team of already qualified people serving on the school board. It is my earnest belief that education should be what every child and every human being should aspire to. And once you earn it, you should give back to the community. I ask your vote, and look at me that I am an independent. The only person I want to serve is the students and the people of Lowell. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, I would entertain a motion to recess briefly. and then come back and we'll take a vote. So moved by Mr. Leary, seconded by Councilor Laurie. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. We'll recess then for 5 minutes.
Ooh, it's freezing. I'm cold.
That was an actual timed 5 minutes, so. The clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Kennedy.
Here.
Counselor Leahy.
Here.
Counselor Laurie.
Here.
Counselor Martin.
Here.
Counselor Mendonça.
Here.
Counselor Mercia. Mayor Murphy.
Here.
Counselor Nguyen.
Here.
Counselor Elliott.
Here.
Mr. Conway.
Here.
Mr. Gignac.
Here.
Mr. Leary.
Here.
Miss Martin.
Here.
Miss Rotsikowicz. Miss Scott.
Here.
15 present.
Thank you. What's the wish of the committee? Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. May I first say, on behalf of my colleagues, that I congratulate all the 4 candidates that came before us. I was very impressed to take time out of their busy life to even want to volunteer for such a duty to serve their city is quite amazing. And so to each and every candidate that came here, any one of them would be a credit, but unfortunately, we can only vote for one. But I was very impressed with them, and I publicly wanted to thank them for giving of themselves and their time. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Anyone else wishing to speak? Entertain then a motion to proceed with the vote?
Yes.
So moved by Councilor Kennedy, seconded by Councilor Laurie. And again, you just state the name of your candidate.
Counselor Kennedy.
Mr. Booton?
Counselor Leahy.
Ray Booton.
Counselor Laurie.
Ray Booton.
Counselor Martin.
Ray Booton.
Counselor Mendonça.
Mr. Krieger.
Counselor Mercia.
Mr. Krieger.
Mayor Murphy.
Mr. Nikembeng.
Counselor Nguyen.
Mr. Krieger.
Counselor Elliott.
Mr. Krieger.
Mr. Conway.
Ray Booton.
Mr. Gignac.
Mr. Booton.
Mr. Leary.
Mr. Krieger.
Miss Martin.
Mr. Booton.
Miss Rotsikowicz.
Mr. Krieger.
Pardon me.
Mr. Krieger.
Mr. Krieger.
Thank you. Miss Scott.
Mr. Krieger.
Seven for Mr. Booton. 7 for Mr. Krieger. 0 for Mr. LaFeria. 1 for Mr. Nickenberg, excuse me.
Since no candidate has reached the 8, we take another roll call. Another round of voting.
Counselor Kennedy.
Mr. Booton?
Counselor Leahy.
Mr. Booton.
Counselor Laurie.
Mr. Booton.
Counselor Martin.
Mr. Booton?
Counselor Mendonça.
Mr. Krieger.
Counselor Mercia.
Mr. Krieger.
Mayor Murphy.
Mr. Nikembeng.
Counselor Nguyen.
Mr. Krieger.
Counselor Elliott.
Mr. Krieger.
Mr. Conway.
Mr. Booton.
Mr. Gignac.
Mr. Booton.
Mr. Leary.
Mr. Krieger.
Miss Martin.
Mr. Booton.
Miss Rotsikowicz.
Mr. Krieger.
Miss Scott.
Mr. Krieger.
7, 7, and 1. 7 Mr. Booton, 7 Mr. Krieger, 1 Mr. Nikembeng.
Councilor
Mr.
Kennedy.
Mayor, I would just suggest that unless we adopt a mechanism where we drop the lowest person, the lowest vote getter, this could end up being a long night.
I understand that. I understand I also am the lone vote, so we'll wrap this up pretty quickly. Thank you. Council Kennedy, another round, please.
Council Kennedy.
Sorry, getting ready for 5 minutes from now.
Council Kennedy.
Mr. Booton.
Council Leahy.
Ray Booton.
Council Laurie.
Ray Booton.
Council Martin.
Mr. Booton.
Council Madonsa.
Mr. Krieger.
Council Mercia.
Mr. Krieger.
Mayor Murphy.
Mr. Booton.
Council Nguyen.
Mr. Krieger.
Mr. Krieger. Council Nguyen.
Mr. Krieger, sir.
Thank you. Council Elliott.
Mr. Krieger.
Mr. Conway. Mr. Gignac.
Mr. Booton.
Mr. Leary.
Mr. Krieger.
Miss Martin.
Mr. Booton.
Miss Rotz Sikowicz.
Mr. Krieger.
Miss Scott.
Mr. Krieger.
That's 8 votes for Mr. Booton, 7 votes for Mr. Krieger.
Mr. Leary.
Mr. Mayor, if we could have a motion to make unanimous vote for Mr. Booton as the next Greater Lowell Technical, I'll make that as a form of a motion.
Motion by Mr. Leary, seconded by Council Laurie. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Congratulations, Mr. Booton. Mr. Booton, if you could come to the front to be sworn in.
Chose one of the other candidates. They are fantastic. I'm humbled to be here. I'm thankful for my friends and my family that have been here tonight. Thank you for this vote of confidence. I won't let you down. Thank you.
Let us swear you in, okay?
Okay.
Just repeat after me. Raise your right hand. I
I,
state your name.
Raymond Booton,
Do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all the duties
all the duties
incumbent on me
incumbent upon me
as a member of the Greater Lowell Technical High School School Committee,
as a member of the Greater Lowell Technical High School Committee,
according to the best of my ability
according to the best of my ability
and understanding,
and understanding,
agreeably to the rules
agreeably to the rules
and regulations
and regulations
of the Constitution
of the
and
Constitution
laws of this Commonwealth,
and the laws of this Commonwealth
and ordinances of
and ordinances of
the City of Lowell,
the City of Lowell.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again. Thank you to all the candidates, as Councilor Mercia said, for having applied. At this point, entertain a motion to adjourn by Councilor Kennedy, seconded by Mr. Gignac. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, we stand adjourned. Sorry, talk to that guy.